How is everybody doing? And welcome back for another Strength Chat episode. Today, we have got a returning guest, an absolute legend. I really enjoyed the first episode. If you haven't checked out the last one, go back and check it out. Today, I am joined by Dean Hammond. How are you doing?
I'm very good, Steve, mate. You don't need to be giving me introductions like that. People are gonna start thinking something incredible
I've,
is gonna come out of my mouth, mate. But
Well, I've built it up now. We've got to deliver. No, honestly,
oh dear.
yeah. For everyone listening, if you haven't checked out the last episode with Dean, honestly, really popular episode. Really good response from it. So 100% go and check that out. But Dean, what's been happening since we last spoke?
Goodness me. What's it been? Nearly not far off of a year now. I think it must have been, well, maybe a bit less than that, but
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know where this year is going to be fair.
I think it must have been the last time we spoke. I'm almost adamant it was about a year ago. Surely it was that far ago. It might not have been, to be honest, but Jesus Christ, what's happened? What's happened in the past year? A lot. A lot's happened in the last year. Where do we even begin with that? My kids are getting older and I'm increasingly aware of my age is probably a good starting point. Like with anybody, right? Anybody who goes over 30 starts realizing how fucking old they are. But no, still very much the same, mate. I think people get this idea that life is all crazy exciting as an online coach and you live the laptop lifestyle on a beach with a mojito or a margarita in your hand. I can tell you for one, that's definitely not the case. So pretty much of the same, mate. More coaching, more athletes, more time on the gym floor, more connections, more people. So yeah, what we try and do every day, right?
Yeah, nice. And with that, how's the as we end towards the end of the year, how is that looking? Because I know, when we've spoken before, seeing, the content that you put out there, there's
Mm.
always something to look forward to, events coming up or coaching coming up. How is kind of the future looking for you?
Yeah, so we've got a busy year this year. Or it has been a very busy year. We've had quite a lot of athletes come through our coaching roster and our coaching collective. Um, Much in the way of the same, I think a lot of people. I'm a big believer in stick to one thing for 12 months, see it through, and get fucking really good at it. And that's kind of what we try and do, mate. So one of the big pushes for us this year was more centered around sort of face-to-face events, getting together a little bit more. Our Catalyst collective get-togethers, where we get athletes together and we just throw down, mate. Get some lifts and tin, listen timber, throw a little bit of iron around, sweat a little bit, and that's seen it's been a really welcome addition to our coaching pathway, which we provide for all of our athletes. I think the biggest thing with this type of space is we want to make fitness as high performance, and I say high performance as in every facet of performance accessible as possible. And that was just kind of like the next stepping stool for us. So a few face-to-face events planned. We've got a couple of um, extra tuitional stuff that we do outside of that. So we get together and we go out and do a little bit of expedition work. I feel like that's an important part of life. Nature is a massive part of who I am. What adventurous training and outdoor pursuit has given me in my life. I like to bring that back to what we do, right? Why like not everything happens in one plane of motion on the gym floor. And so many people forget that our bodies are there to be tested and challenged and manipulated. And you stick somebody overnight in Snowdon National Park with sideways rain and wind coming in, you test them very quickly because they're out away from their creature comforts. So a lot more of that from a coaching perspective. And then yeah, much in the same with the businesses as well. We do a little bit of we're in the education and businessing space. So again, we've got some events planned this year. We've had a few face-to-face meetups over the past few months with some of our coaches, and yeah, it's really good, mate. Really good to get together with other coaches. Like
Yeah.
it's a dying art at the moment. I've got the privilege to be surrounded by some impeccable coaches and industry leaders every single day, and the same question comes up all the time, right? And I've no doubt it's the same for you, Steve. It's like, you miss connecting with people and talking to people, because we all think like the online space has become the, I don't know, the chasm that swallowed everybody up. But the gym is just, and being in that environment where you can just talk about training methodologies, training principles. I give you an example. We had a 2 hour long discussion yesterday around, honestly, on our coaching community roundtable yesterday. We had a 2 hour long discussion about the education space. We were talking and diving deep into whether a lateral raise was a push or a pull movement. We then dove deep into some of the mechanics of lifting, and we started conversing about environments and atmosphere and how we create that culture. And mate, those conversations are amazing. But in a face-to-face capacity, they're just even better. So
Yeah,
much in the way of that. That's our big effort moving into that sort of season. And then for our athletes, it's all about wintering now. So,
yeah,
the summer months, we start thinking about, right, okay, we call it the wintering. What does that look like for you as an athlete? How do we gauge that? What do we want to try and achieve? How can we create it and make it bespoke for you and evolve that pathway? So yeah, loads of different things in lots of different spheres, and
yeah.
probably like anybody else, wearing lots of hats, mate.
Yeah, nice. One thing that well, two things that you said there. What was interesting when you said about doing things outside different planes of movement. So when I came back after being away, the first thing that one of the members told me is that I'd gone up to the North Yorkshire water park, and there's basically like loads of different obstacle courses, all that sort of stuff. And I basically did a water one. And loads of fun. Was like, look, you want to train to be able to do stuff out there. And she sent me a photograph. She was like, yeah, I went and did this, and I felt awesome, and I felt strong, and I did this. And it's like, yeah, it's not just as much as as a power lifter. I've competed in powerlifting, love squat, bench, deadlift. That's awesome. But actually, just being able to go outside and just do, yeah, random things that you're going to enjoy is what we're all, is why we spend time in the gym. And just about chatting with other coaches, one of my he's now gravitated to all online, but he did do a lot of in person in Leeds. He came back to Leeds, had a training session, and a similar thing. What we thought was going to be like maybe an hour and a half session and go for food. We were in the gym basically all morning. A little bit of training got done, but a lot of conversations got had about different things, different cues, and I think that's great to bounce ideas off each other. And I don't know about yourself. This might be a little bit of a tangent, but it fills me with more energy and passion to be like, right, so how can I get into this now that we've had that conversation? Was that kind of the same for you?
All the time, mate. Humans crave connection. Humans crave connection and community, and none more so when they feel like they're being seen and heard, or they're conversing and chatting to people. It's, you go back to the eras of Louis Simmons and the West Side Barbell methodology and everything they bring about inside of their community, and what they do is all coaches in a room with each other doing the stuff. And I think that needs to carry on. I think much of it needs to carry on. I think we're losing. I don't think we're losing. I think there's going to be an industry shift, but I think some people lose that, and I never want to lose that. I never ever want to leave that type of environment because of what you've just said there. The amount of oomph it gives you, and the amount of passion and almost motivation to try and play with new ideas and new prospects and new principles. Great, go after it, go at it. And yeah, I'm exactly the same, mate, in every walk of coaching life. That's exactly it. How can I get more people in front of me in a room, have more conversations and connections to create a better industry or move the fitness space forward by 0.1%? It's the best bit, right?
Yeah, definitely. And touching on that, which is kind of one of the main topics we wanted to chat about today. And when you spoke then about what's the rest of the year looking like, and you
Mm.
spoke about the athletes that you're working with. What does your wintering look like? What's the plan? How can you evolve? How can you give the best service to that athlete? And I kind of wanted to touch on the Catalyst project.
Mm.
So you put a lot of content out about there, and one thing that's kind of what you always mention, and this is something that stuck in my head from the last time that we spoke about. It's lifelong change. The what you're going to be aiming for. How can we improve from there? So I suppose number one, a little bit more insight into what the Catalyst project is,
Mhm.
and how by having those in-person talks like what you've mentioned, by getting more people in front of it, by building that community, by having that plan in place. Why is that set apart, or why does it set the Catalyst project apart from these 8-week challenges, 12-week challenges, and online coaching where it's just a program or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't think it does. I don't think it does set us apart, mate. If I'm honest, I think we're just different. We're just very, very different. And first of all, the Catalyst project is more than just me. It's a community of people. It's a group of people that want to run fast, run further, lift heavier, move freely, less pain, more gain, connect, adapt, evolve, build resilience. Like there's such a wide array of people in our group, but equally and fundamentally, every single individual kind of has a similar mindset. Is that this and this is where we had a bit of a thing that has kind of termed in the Catalyst project, and there's two things we lean into, and one of them is being driven by purpose. It's one of our biggest mantras. Yeah, and you need a purpose. And I think a lot of people in the Catalyst project, the reason why we keep people in our team, in our community for such a long period of time, we're not an 8 to 12 week transformation journey. If that's what you're looking for, then there's nothing wrong with that. People want fat loss, they want compositional change quickly. But for me, fitness and training is a lifelong endeavor that I want to get better at because I fucking love it. And I want to find other people that want the same. They want to be stronger, fitter, faster, build more tissue. They want to balance strength and endurance, and they want to be better mobile wise and more flexible, but in the same breath they want to be able to explore those depths and ranges, and all of that is what makes the Catalyst project. And all of those people are driven by that purpose. They're very much fundamentally aligned to the fact that they've got grandkids, or they've got children, or they've got a wife, they've got a partner, a husband, kids, whatever, and that can be their purpose. So the underpinning thing that the Catalyst project does for our athletes and our community is we try and instill that. We create a catalyst for change by finding what that purpose is and driving towards that. That's the whole premise around what we do. But then the second thing that we really love doing is, and it's a bit of a, it's a bit of playful and bashfulness, but it's creating unfuckable with humans. Like we and I don't mean this derogatory to anybody else, or I'm not pissing or shitting on anybody else's training methodologies, but health and wellness and performance is so much more than just the gym, right? It's so much more than just squat, bench, and deadlift, respectfully. It's so much more than just sitting on a machine and pressing and pushing and pulling. And it's also so much more than doing squatting, lunging, hinging, push, pull, bracing, rotation, whatever. Like it's all of those things, right? But equally, becoming an unfuckable with human being is about consistently trying to find a place where you can challenge yourself, fuck it up royally, figure out why, and then go back and do it better. And it's that change every single time. It might not even be fuck it up royal. It's like fuck about a little bit to find out a lot. And that's kind of what you need to do. So something that we try and do in the Catalyst project with a coaching roster that we have of people is we even emotionally and psychologically, we try and challenge people's biases. James Elliott, our in-house resilience coach and psychotherapist, will test people emotionally and mentally about things like masculinity and femininity and trauma and anxiety and depression and dealing with these things and coping strategies, and ask tough questions, because psychologically that's what creates an unfuckable with human. Gary and Gaz McNamara and Dr. Ashley Cox, from the clinical rehabilitation side and the bulletproofing aspect of what we do, is all about, okay, a client comes in or an athlete comes in, tell me where your pains have been so that we can adapt and evolve and find out what that is. Because we kind of need to fuck about a little bit there to find out a lot about you.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing too, is that that pillar's being pulled. And we're pulling on that pillar of, okay, you see, you've had ACL, MCL issues before, you've had a little bit of drama with the hip, you've got a fused vertebrae, you've had a bulging disc, you've had, ankle issues, whatever, like so many different things that people have had, shoulder problems, neck issues, back issues, whatever. And I'm not saying that we're a rehab team, by the way, we're not.
Yeah.
But we have people that come in with different issues and battles and problems that they have to face. So, you know, Gaz McNamara and Dr. Ashley Cox, their team and their duo combined, test that water, that playing field. We don't want brittle, fragile humans. Nobody wants to be brittle and fragile. People want to be unfuckable with. And our training principles align to that. This other pillar we've got is nutrition. So again, we've got a performance nutritionist, Adam Glover, who runs that side of life. Like, what does challenging the narrative there look like? So many people, their food dichotomy and their food narrative is often skewed by what we see on social media, right? So food behaviors and how we approach food and food volume and understand, again, it's testing people there with food, but then also testing people in environments where we're out in, I don't know, the Cairngorms or the Lake District or Snowdon National Park, and we're limiting food and we're learning skills around, cooking with a fucking hexi burner or a jet boil and eating out of a boil in a bag, but then also challenging that environment. So the nutritional side is a pillar. And then that final pillar with what we do on the strength and conditioning side is kind of manipulating all of that and bringing it together collectively. So, not only do we have a community of people in the Catalyst Project that have a purpose, we now have a community of people in the Catalyst Project that are aligned to becoming unfuckable with or unbreakable or whatever term you find it is right for you. So the Catalyst Project, again, is more than just me or any of the coaches. It's everybody, because everybody's on an all singing, all dancing net. They all know what's going on. We all understand each other and what they're about and their unapologetic terms and who they are and who they bring to the table. And we never want anybody to feel anything different. And you're in a community where you can actually afford to be those people. It's great. It's a really thriving community. It's really, really good. And so that's kind of the first question around, like, what is the Catalyst Project? It's many things, but it's probably fundamentally built on those two pillars: the community around, finding and being driven by purpose, and then equally a group of human beings that just don't fit the status quo and want to become unfuckable with. Like, it doesn't mean you can't do the squat, bench, and deadlift, the presses, the pulls, the hinges, the lunges. It doesn't mean you can't do any of that, because we do all of that. But it's also, how do we explore that outside of what we deliver? And that's kind of what we're about, mate.
Yeah.
I forgot what the second one was. Sorry.
Yeah, I have actually there, because I was starting thinking about something else there. But what I loved about that was, you started that off with, saying yes, programming, squat, bench, deadlift, and mentioned there it's, more than that when it comes to health and fitness. And what I think is, on whatever level anyone is in terms of health and fitness training, they have an image in their head of what they're unfuckable with is, like, what they where they want to be. And funnily enough, I had a conversation about this the other week. Of people would look at some people in the gym and think, I want to be like that, but then they miss out the steps from there, and then they just think, oh well, it must be that program that they're doing. It's just that nutrition plan that they're following. Do you think that from that kind of people's perception of what health and fitness is, and to get to that point where, so for example, I literally had a one-to-one session today. Basically, she is seeing a counsellor, so referred out. It was a little bit beyond my scope of knowledge, practice, but I was speaking to her about the chimp paradox. Look, this is how we can make our mind a little bit stronger, get a bit of understanding about it. I said, I've read the book. I said, I'm not a counsellor, but I said, we can talk about it. All of a sudden now, we've got a plan in place. Me working with her counsellor to be like, strength wise, she's awesome, but her mindset is, she'll give up, she'll give in to things a little bit more. Do you think sometimes perception of, health and fitness is they need to look more beyond that, and how can they get to that point?
Oh, without question, mate. Without question. You ask anybody what health and fitness looks like, or the general public think what health and fitness looks like. They think it's an hour in the gym. They think it's bland, plain, restricted food. And they think it's narcissism and egotistical mindset towards being body beautiful. That will never, it's changing, but that will never not be a thing. Like it will always, like, because let's face facts, some aspects of fitness are about that. Some aspects of fitness are about, okay, we can be narcissistic and egotistical. That's not a bad thing. If anything, I welcome that, and I welcome somebody who's more dogmatic, because it means that they are implicitly passionate about one thing that they fucking want to drive for, whether it's squat, bench, and deadlift or whatever and beyond. So that's great. That's really, really cool. But yeah, I think a lot of people are in that frame of mind that fitness can't be anything different. It's why I give you an example. It's why you'll never see me do a comparison video and shit on somebody else's ideology and methodology. Ever. You'll never see me do that. You'll never see me do a comparison video. And listen, we can sit here and talk about functional patterns and Naudi's approach to looking at deadlifts, squats, lunges, and presses, and everything's fucking bad for you. That's a really dogmatic approach, and it's incredibly reductionist. It's somebody who's stuck in an echo chamber and cherry picks data and science to fit their narrative about functional patterns. Conversely, we can go down the other end of the spectrum and look at Joel Seedman. And again, his dogmatic viewpoint and reductionist approach around full range of movement and understanding 90-degree eccentric isometrics and why we only ever train to 90 degrees. There are so many coaches that will pull that video up, or people will pull that video up and shit on that ideology. Good for you. But in an industry that needs to become more of a community, I'll always ask myself the question, is that bringing the industry closer together to create a community of people, or is it tearing the community? Discussion's great, by the way. And I think having a difference in viewpoints is fundamentally what makes health and fitness so good. But there's a difference between conversing in a professional manner, having a debate and discussing things and showing viewpoints. But unfortunately, you can't do that in the social media space, because you've got a small army of little chimps that will follow you around and ultimately regurgitate the shit that person says. I have no doubt I've got people like that. Joel Seedman has people like that. Naudi's got people like that. You only have to look at what's just recently been posted by Functional Patterns about deadlifts, saying they put 3 reasons out about why deadlifts are, it's essentially useless exercises. And I'm like, well, actually, if we look at data and literature and science, and we understand there are benefits and mechanisms to why a deadlift would be a great pattern of movement for some people, doesn't make it a bad pattern, doesn't make it something that should be fear-mongered or reductionist, because now you're creating an unnecessary barrier to an individual that's young, affluent, wants to train, but you've just told them now that they can't deadlift. So the divide that you've now created has been about dividing an industry rather than bringing together and what a community is. So fucking without question, people's views on fitness are so aggressively flawed because of probably what they go through on their doom scroll and their death scroll. And it's the mark of the times, isn't it? Like, industry leaders are now all over social media. We've got some of the forefathers of this industry: Dan John, Mike Boyle, Louis Simmons, like even more recently, people like Dr. Jordan Shallow.
Yeah.
You look at RTS and their incredible biomechanics training systems and everything else they do. Like, even people will shit on the ideologies of those people. And I'm like, hang on a minute. You've got Dan John, Louis Simmons, Mike Boyle. They are the reason why the industry has become what it is.
Yeah.
West Side Barbell is why barbells are so prevalent across the whole of the world right now, and why functional training and strength, speed, power, hypertrophy so evolutionary sexy to people. Conversely, you've got these Jordan Shallows and these, the guys from RTS and so many other people I could name that are now firing the science behind all of this because they're so integrated into understanding human anatomy, biomechanics, anthropometrics, endocrinology, all of this, making the industry a fucking incredible place to have debate and discussion. And you can do that with some of these incredible leaders because you can sit back and go, I'm really interested by that viewpoint. What drew you to that conclusion? I have no doubt that you and I could probably have a really good discussion about training methodologies, and your methodologies would be very different to mine. You'll talk about squat, bench, and deadlift and why that might be a great training modality as a bias that you use. Equally, I might turn around and go, well, hang on a minute here, Steve. That might not be the case. And it's having debate and it's great, it's healthy. But yes, I go back to the point. It's wildly skewed by the fact that there is unfortunate divide in this industry. So I just think we need to bring more together as a community so people actually understand that health and fitness can be so many things. It can be your functional patterns. It can be your West Side Barbell type of workouts and training. It can be CrossFit. It can be high Roxy. It can be running, triathlon. It can be so many. It can be playing with your fucking children. Like it can be so many things. So I do think it's an ever, I think it will be an ever consistent issue that we face in this industry. I don't think it'll ever go away, but I do think that it will start to change and shape and maybe evolve. Maybe people will see health and fitness as, oh, okay, it could be a walk or whatever. I've had dogmatic, reductionistic viewpoints about fitness. We all have, mate. We've all been young, dumb, and full of shit before. Like, we all think that, oh, you've got to pick up a barbell. It's the only way to get strong. Well, machines aren't functional. That argument, like, there's so many things. And I think the older I've got in this industry and the more experience I've had working with and being around like Marco Sanchez, being around Mike Boyle, having worked with Dan John, having, even some of the newer industry leaders, Jordan Shallow, fucking Paul Standell and James Sutton in what their space that they're creating. Even some of the incredible powerlifting athletes, and some of the powerlifting coaches, Jenny Todd, an incredible powerlifting coach. I have the beauty of mentoring her, and she's an amazing female, amazing woman, amazing representative of the sport. Chloe Brennan in the powerlifting space and the strong women space. Like, I'm surrounded by these people. And it's great because you can have debate and connection. And that's where the real nuances of fitness can be discussed. On social media, you can't do that. And that's where everybody gets their opinions from right now.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that you said from a little bit early on was, how can you drive the standards and grow? And I think that comes from as a community. Good things happen when it is part of a community. For example, at the local rugby club community, they have a club day, or we have a club day, right? Well, everyone gets behind it because everyone wants to move together. It's not a case of like, whoa, like we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's like, well, let's go down what needs doing, and then actually we all came to a decision that a bigger barbecue area would probably be pretty good. Probably won't get used with weather coming in September, but I do think community drive things forwards. And what I thought was good there was a key word that you kept saying was, and you kind of said this at the start, of not setting you apart from other things. It's just different. And you said there, I often think that people look for the same thing, but are expecting a different result from doing that same thing. And you mentioned Dan John, Mike Boyle, Louis Simmons. At the time, they were probably all doing, or they were doing, all different things, but they all then pushed the industry forward because they dared to do something different. And everything that you've said there about the Catalyst project, about it being a community, about how you work, about they're all connected on that net, so they know what's going on, so they're all pushing forward. What are kind of I suppose kind of your thoughts on? Do you think people sometimes are worried about or scared of doing something different because for the last X amount of time it's been the same thing that's been put out there of you need to do X, Y, and Z, or you need to do this or that to get that result, as opposed to maybe try something different, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think there are people that still don't know personal training and online coaching exist, mate, let alone, whether they're scared or not to test and dip their toe in the water. I I I have no doubt, absolutely have no doubt. Again, as we start to evolve, more people become aware of how incredible coaching can be for human beings and people. And, it's our role, it's my job every single day to show up in some way, shape, and form. And it's probably the whole reason why I'm on social media is that somebody somewhere in some walk of life can come to any one of my channels and handles or on my email list or whatever, and they can change their life for free without the fear of worrying whether they're fragile, broken, old, not allowed, whatever, like whatever
Yeah,
environmental restricted things that you stick in your own mind. So, and I think it's our job as coaches to try and reduce and not even reduce, remove that barrier, remove the barrier of fear of movement, remove the barrier of trying to go and do some stuff. Like if, and again, there's people, even coaches should do that. Like coaches think that certain things are shit. Okay, go and try it for 12 weeks. Go and try it for 12 weeks, document it, see how you get on with it. Because actually, contextually, you'll turn around and you might go, oh, do you know what? I actually took some really positive stuff away from that. And I think more coaches need to be on that fence of, rather than this is shit, what could I learn from this ideology, this methodology, this principle, this person, this human, this thing? And then how can I translate that into bringing together, rather than industry that's so divided, a community that's more collected? How do I do that? Because that information that you give to people is the thing that's going to stop those people from being fearful of other things. Like, and I said to you before, didn't I? Like everything is on the table. Nothing is off limits. Functional patterns is done incredible work in the space to bring fluidity and bring gait and movement, which is not fearful about where your body's turning through space and time and awareness. Like, it's great. They've done some amazing stuff. But equally, I don't agree with some of their shit. Joel Seedman has done some amazing things for this industry in the amount of information he gives out to people. The variability in his exercises are exciting. They bring a different stimulus. They play with different things into different mindsets and different narratives that people love. Great, fantastic. And the same could be said for, going into the places of like Squat University. Like, he's done some amazing things in this space. Do we agree with everything he says? No, because it's not necessarily true, half of the crap. But the same people will say the same about Dan John and his kettlebell flows. Like, the bloke is not a specialist in kettlebells, but damn God, sure, you ask him what's 3 exercises he'd have in his program tomorrow, rest assured, he'd have 80-kilo kettlebell swings in his program. And it's why the guy's still physically fit and active, is because he's been doing this for such a long period of time. So go back to Dan John, another great example. Why is he such an industry forefather? Because he's doing exactly what we're saying. He's looking at people and going, okay, that's interesting. What have you brought to that conclusion? What can I take away from that? He's tried it, he's tested it, he's played with it. Like, I've done every single training system there is to know. There's what is known to mankind. Like Dr. Sam and his FTS 12 training system, with achieving the best hypertrophic response that you can get, all the way down to let's do a Wendler 5-3-1 strength cycle. Like, you have done it all. And every single one of them have benefit, have their place. It's just our job to try and show people there's all these tools. Let me put it in your toolbox, and then you can have a play with some of those tools. And that's what it should be. It should be an exploration. That's why, I've been doing this 20 years, and there's still more to evolve into. There's still more to try, more to play with. Like,
yeah,
there's loads out there that we can do.
yeah.
Just need
I
to show
think,
it.
yeah, I love the analogy of like the toolbox, and it is. I used to work in a gym in Leeds City Centre, and how someone described it of like an adult playground. I think that's just
Exactly.
stuck. That's just stuck with me. And not even if you can expand that, you're like everywhere is a playground. You want to be moving. You want to be able because it's interesting. It's fun, and I think being curious about what does work because you know, a little bit like for benchmarking this week, what's the worst that can happen? Yes, injuries aside, do you know what I mean? Like if someone absolutely like decapitates themselves on a squat, okay, that's not very good. But that side, it's a controlled environment, all those sorts of things. But what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that you don't like it and you do something else. Well, there's not going to be like some training police that's going to come over and say, right, you need to do this, which I think, yeah, more people should think about rather than pinning the mass to one thing because at some point, that is either not going to work or people are going to get fed up with it and naturally want to look for something else. What
Yeah.
one thing, and you mentioned it there about opening people up to experience coaching and it's kind of because the online area can be quite or is quite saturated. Everyone's kind of jostling to put information out there, but
Yeah.
also trying to get people in. Do you think sometimes maybe younger coaches or coaches that have maybe I don't know if I lost the way is the right word, kind of get confused between actually offering coaching and knowing what coaching is compared to just selling and just being like, right, I've got this thing. I'm just going to try and sell this because I think it's going to work, as opposed to having that coaching mentality of how can I help this person in front of me and what tools can I use to help them?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's down to that you've got online coaches now that and I'm gonna do this not from a reductionist mindset, actually. I think it's amazing that we've got so many online coaches evolving into this space, whether you're new, young, old, whatever. Like I've got guys that I'm currently mentoring in the UK SCA space to help with their business because they've done 30 years on the gym floor and they want to bring that into something that they can do online, they can systemize and they can evolve with. That's great. It's amazing. I'm blessed to do that. But then again, we've got people that are fresh out of faced personal trainers that want to go into the online space. And I don't think anyone anywhere in the personal training world is joining the personal training world to get rich. Like, I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that no one joins the personal training world to become an expert marketeer, an online coach, because they want to live the margarita laptop lifestyle in, I don't know, Dubai somewhere in the Palms, and they want to, have a Rolex watch on their hand. Like, they're all nice materialistic things that people want, and that's okay. But I don't think that's why people join. Like, I'm yet to come across a coach that has joined the industry because they didn't want to help somebody. Like 99.9% of the people I've ever seen, and this is maybe just my small, narrow group of people that I've had the pleasure of knowing in this small pocket of the world that I live in. Nobody I've ever come across is that much of an archaic, draconian style, make money rich scheme type of dude for our work week bullshit that they want a client through the door just to get rich. 9 times out of 10, people want people to join their community and their spaces to because they want to change their life. They do want to make somebody better. I have the most rewarding job in the world. It's both selfless and selfish as fuck. I get to help people and it makes me feel great and amazing about helping people. Like, I feel so good about doing it. So it's brilliant when people have amazing transformations and they change their life and they feel like they've hit a new PB or whatever those things are. And I think more, but there are equally an older demographic of coaches that shit on younger coaches and newer coaches in this industry. Like, don't forget what side your fucking bread's buttered on here, mate. And let's not forget, Sunshine, you used to be that red ass PT that has no idea about anything. And it's the classic Dunning-Kruger effect, mate, isn't it? Like, when I first got qualified as a trainer, I was right at the top of that Dunning-Kruger curve, thinking I knew everything about anything. And I was like, wow, I'm ready for my first clients. Let's go. And, you get right at the top. And then you realize you fuck about a little bit and you realize how much you don't know. So you go away and you try and plug the gap a little bit. Maybe it's on biomechanics or it's on Olympic weightlifting or speed and power development and plyos and whatever. Great. Now I've learned a little bit. I've moved back up the Dunning-Kruger curve. And then you realize very quickly, you go and have a conversation with fucking Dan John in a room and you're talking about periodization models and he comes out with a whole manner of different things he's trying to pass. You're like, oh, fucking hell, I need to go and fuck about a little bit more to find out again. So I think we need to stop. And again, the questions that we have and the narrative and the thought process of looking at online coaches, younger coaches joining the industry, does that viewpoint create more of an industry divide or does it create a more committed community? It creates more of a fucking industry divide. So why am I not? If I'm going to get a personal trainer and they're fresh through the door, do you know what? Offer an hour of your time to talk to them about some of the things that you've learned over the years. I'm part of a community where I get to do that with brand new coaches that join the industry, all the way up to expert coaches that are in the field and are working in some of the most elite teams in the world. That's great. But guess what? Those elite team people, the best at what they do, they genuinely go into every interaction and relationship with, I can learn something from this guy. He might only be in the industry for 10 minutes, but I can learn something from this young dude because he's probably got something that maybe I've not had as an experience. Who knows? Maybe this young kid who's joining the industry is is a failed Premier League football player or failed Championship football player or a failed Divisional One rugby player. That guy's been subject to some of the best team cultural environments ever. He's got something to bring to this table. Have the conversation. So I think it's a shame that there are divides between coaches in the space that have this draconian mindset and archaic, reductionist, negative viewpoint on newer coaches joining the industry. Do you know what? I implore you to go into a brand new coach's fucking DMs and say whatever. Say, Steve, John, whatever. Really love the post you put up earlier on. Good for you. It really, I know you're trying to help people, etc. If you ever want to have a chat and you ever want to talk about some cool little things that might help your coaching practice in the future, let me know. Give me a shout. Just through the simple fact of connecting with somebody and having a conversation. But human beings ain't like that, right? Human beings especially Brits, mate, we're all the worst, our own worst place. Like we're crude, we're brash, we're unapologetically British. And we'll be like, nah, fuck it. He's shit at what he does. I can't believe he's getting that. Like, what the fuck? How's he posted that? He's got 20,000 followers. What, for getting his fucking ass out and talking shit? Like, don't have that mindset. You can learn from people. Every person, there's opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
But I can only say that because I was that person looking at people and thinking, what the fuck? How has he done that? Well, actually, rather than how has he done that, what can I learn from him that's going to help me do something similar? Because I really like that. It would be no different than me looking at your stuff. And if I was pushing everything that I remember going through a phase where did my powerlifting level 1, level 2, went into the British weightlifting world, started doing that level 1 and level 2, started taking courses. I remember a time when I was so biased towards that, thought I was the fucking dog's nuts at it, the best at it. Lo and behold, you walk into a room with someone like Jenny Todd or Chloe Brennan or one of you, I'll be sat there going, fuck, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? And you fuck about a little bit more to find out that you know nothing. And then you learn a bit about that nothing. And then you come back to the top of the Dunning-Kruger. We need to invite coaches to do more of that because it can be a little bit of a dick swinging contest with some people. I ain't about that, mate. Like, whether you're new, young, old, fat, thin, female, male, whatever you classify yourself as, doesn't matter. Like, I can learn from you in some way. Like, I learn from my wife every day. You know what I mean? I learn from my kids every day. I learn from the people I work with every day. I learn from the most junior coach that's joined this industry to the most hairy-arsed, burly bloke that's been in it for 40 years. Like, this is great. Yeah. So, and again, does it divide or does it combine and create? And that's what we should be trying to do, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good philosophy to have. And what actually made me laugh when you said there about you learning from either the most junior coach or the most senior. So before before I went away, so I tried to kind of tidy off all the training with the training team that we've got before I went away, and then we start a new block of training now that I'm back. And we were going through the exercise library and just having a little bit of a refresher. He's only just started. And
Mm,
I can't remember what exercise we were going through. It was maybe like an overhead press or something like that. And I went through it and I was like, right, so we're going to go through this. And then he said something and he was like, oh, well, this is what I've done before. And he gave me a cue. And I was like, ah, that was pretty good. That how he would explain it and how he said it to that person in that situation. I thought that was really good. And I thought, yeah, I was like, we'll do it. And he was like, what? And I was like, it doesn't matter that you've been here. He'll be coming into his like second month. I was like, it doesn't matter. Like you've been here 2 months, said something that how I wouldn't have said it, but I like how you put that across. Why not give that a go? As opposed to saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you know who I am? Like you're not gonna come in here saying different cues from that, which, again, like what you said at the start, it only drives things forward. In terms of maybe for younger coaches listening, when you mentioned there when you first started, getting qualifications in terms of programming and all those sorts of things and getting that knowledge, then finding out, oh, actually, I need to actually go back to the drawing board and think about this. In terms
mm.
of your own progression, when did you start thinking about, right, okay, so maybe I do need to have a look at what other people are doing and take it out from there. But also, when did you start thinking that, okay, well, things outside of, the whole coaching package, things outside of, courses for powerlifting, weightlifting, but also, right, well, how is their mindset? How can I help them with this and the other kind of strings to the bow? How did that kind of come up in your progression, if you like?
So I think I couldn't put a I couldn't give you a time frame, mate, or a date, or a I couldn't give you a date time stamp. I just
Yeah.
genuinely couldn't. I think it's been a natural evolution. I
Yeah.
go back to that point we had before when I was first qualified as a PT level 3 after doing some Buckshee's 6 week online course, which was a load of shit. I threw everything in the kitchen sink at thinking I knew everything about getting people in sick shape and getting really lean and getting hench, and I thought I knew everything. Well, it wasn't until you start picking up certain clients and you realize that there's a gap, there's something that I don't know. So for me, and I don't want this to sound wrong, but I'm one of those people that if I don't know something, I need to know what the thing is. Like not, and maybe there's a little bit around my own sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, my own standards, what I want to get to. But it's like in an argument with my wife. If me and my wife have an argument on the couch and she thinks she's right and I think I'm right, we will both go and do our research to find out who's actually right. It happens all the time, all the time. And it's this constant need that I've had for years of being in the industry about not wanting to be right, but wanting to know. So if I'm working with females and I've got a huge population, here's an interesting statistic for you. 60% of women or 60% of people that purchase any form of online coaching are women. Now go and ask how many male coaches understand follicular luteal phases of the cycle, how to train and adapt volume and intensity around somebody's menstrual period, understand the different phases and how to affect change. Why would we change something? What type of bleed do they have? Are they a light, medium, moderate, heavy bleeder? What does that reflect on them? Like, I knew fucking nothing about that when somebody started talking to me about many, many years ago. Oh, I feel a little bit shit on my period. I'm like, oh, well, let's reduce it a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, where am I going to learn? Like, what the fuck? I don't know anything about periods. I better fucking find out. So you start learning about things and you start going to lots of different courses that you can do. And now more than ever, at the click of a button, you can sign up to any course in the world and start getting not just accredited, that shouldn't be what you do, but get experience.
Yeah.
For me, I think it first started probably in the first couple of years of my career where I was constantly surrounded in the military by specialists in different fields. Somebody that was a fucking runner, somebody that was a powerlifter, somebody that was absolutely jacked and dick skin lean, somebody on the other side of the fence that was a champion skier, somebody who was a cross country athlete or a duathlete, somebody who was a motocrosser. You start just being surrounded by these people because there's so many different eclectic groups of people that join the military. The beauty around being around these people is you find people that are really good at lots of different things and you start learning from them. If you've got that mindset and you've got that type of non-reductionist, really optimistic mindset around what somebody can bring to the table for you as a coach, that's all I've ever done. Because I'm always like, oh, he's good at motocross. I want to be good at motocross. How the fuck do you get good at motocross? I want to know because I want to be better than you. But it's not. It's just I want to be good at it. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I've gone and done squash coaching courses. I'm a level 2 squash coach. What the fuck is that about? Why? Because I wanted to be really good at squash so that when I was playing the boys at work, I could beat them. That was what I was like. Now I learn. You learn about squash. You learn about boasts. You learn about using the wall. You learn about the sitting at the top of the tee. And when you go and watch that sport, you're engulfed in, oh, watch him. He's going to try and get to the top of the tee and fight for it every time. Same with powerlifting. I wanted to be absolutely. We were doing I remember the first time I was subject to the 1,000-pound club,
Yeah.
and I was like squat, bench, and deadlift. Okay, what are my minimums? Where's my weakest point here? I'm crap at that. I go and sign up with Ed Halstead and go and do a level 2, level 3 powerlifting course combined over 2 weeks and learn as much as I can to go and prove a point that I want to squat, bench, and deadlift and be really bloody good at it. So this journey's been it's almost been like a self-academic journey. I want to be practically great at something, a jack of all trades, academically know why those things are really good, mainly because I just want to know. And I've got this void that I need to fill. Like it's been the same with every sport I've ever done. Athletics, rugby, football, hockey. I haven't done netball coaching quals yet, but even boxing, like every time I've gone to do something, it's because I've had an interest in it at that period of time and I've wanted to learn more about it. Going and doing a level 1 boxing course, a level 2 boxing course. I love football. So I went and done an FA level 1 coaching course and then a youth development program as well. Just because I want to be good at football and coaching football for young kids. Why? Because I was surrounded by kids that might take up football one day.
Yeah.
So you do. You know what I mean? Like, it won't be long until I go and do a skateboarding coaching qualification. I got a skateboard in the garage that I bought last Christmas. I love it. It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. I've not been on it as much as I want to be, but I remember skateboarding as a kid. So now I'm fucking about a little bit to find out how shit I am about something so I can go and work with somebody. And I see we're down the skate park seeing kids that are so good. I'm like, mate, can you teach me how to do that kickflip? Just I want to do a kickflip. Just show me on the move as well. So you start doing this thing around just finding out a little bit. And I think if you don't mind, if I can offer one piece of advice to somebody that is joining this industry as a coach, is the first thing you've got to do, I think personally, is if you're a coach working with people, you need to identify who they are. Who is that person? You work with a very, very select avatar of person, of human being. That's cool. That's great. And that might be your 28 to 35-year-old powerlifter. They've got a family. They love the sport. They can't do it as much as they used to, but they really want to continue with that. What are their unique problems that they face? And then ask yourself the question, do I have the knowledge, the skills, and the experience to answer that problem? And if you don't have the knowledge, skills, and experience, go and find somebody that does. And that goes for everything I've ever done. If I'm crap at Olympic weightlifting, or I still am pretty shit, to be fair, I've been doing it for nearly 15 years. It's pretty fucking abysmal. But the point of the matter is, if I want to get great at clean and jerk and snatch, I want to surround myself with people that are emphatically good at clean and jerk and snatch. Yeah. Even if they're not coaches, even if they're, I just want to watch you lift. I want to just look at your movement. If I want to get better at coaching it, I've got mentors that I'll go to and I'll be like, I want to come and sit down with you for a week. I want to learn from you. Go and do that. Go and get in an environment where you're flooded with powerlifters because you want to learn more about squat, bench, and deadlift. There's no better place to go in the world to learn more about squat, bench, and deadlift than some powerlifting gym. You want to learn more about Olympic weightlifting because that's what your athletes want. Great. This new craze around high rocks, right?
Mm.
This new craze around high rocks. High rocks is amazing, but it's we've been training that way for years. In World War One, preparation for the troops was jumping, running, throwing, carrying lots of different things over prolonged distances to get them in good shape. We've been doing it for years. If you want to get great at that or learn a little bit about that, go and work with a group of rowers and learn how to row great. Go and find out who's got the world record in a ski erg and go and ask him if you can, mate, I want to see how you do that. Can I just listen to you? Go and
Yeah.
absorb their content. Go and absorb what they have. Go and learn from some of the fittest pyroxers in the world. If you love CrossFit, go and digest everything that Matt Fraser, Rich Froning, Tia Claire Toomey, all of these amazing athletes have done over the years. They put out content every day. Go and digest some of the shit that they're doing. Just watch them. Go and join a CrossFit affiliate. Go and find a level two. Mate, I remember that I did a 2 day level one CrossFit course, and I'm sat here going, okay, hell. Like, if you want to be good at that, go in on that coaching pathway, become a level two CrossFit coach, or go and find somebody that is, and just watch how they program, watch what they do, and that's it. Like, I think we need to do more of that, right? Don't get so we coaches have a myopic tunnel vision approach on going all in on one methodology, which I think is fine. If you want to be your expert in that field, that's cool. Go for that. I'm not like that. I'm somebody that wants to work with loads of different human beings, loads of different, and create some incredible connections with my athletes, like they're part of my family and part of my community. So if I've got a female CrossFitter, I now need to know everything I can know about CrossFit programming and everything I need to know about female physiology and everything I need to know about her vocation as, I don't know, a train driver or a policewoman. So there's some tactical athlete work I've got to do there. I want to know everything there is to know about that person. Equally, if I've got John, who's a father of 2 kids, and he just wants to lose a little bit of weight, be more confident, actually feel good about himself when he takes his clothes off in front of his wife because he's going on holiday. Well, I'm going to go and learn everything I can learn about what he might feel like. And interestingly, I've got the experience and the skills because I'm a father myself and I've had those feelings before. You're diving deep into, okay, what does he need? Maybe he just needs some basic work around compositional change. So I might go and talk to a coach that's an absolute expert in getting result after result after result after result in getting somebody dick skin lean. I'm like, can you show me how to do that in the 8 weeks that you've done it? I'm really interested to learn. You're not going to have all the answers in the first couple of years of coaching. Like if you have and you think you have, my suggestion is you need to go and fuck out. You need to go and fuck around a little bit to find out how much you don't know. So you become back down the bottom of that Dunning-Kruger curve, and then maybe you can start climbing it back up again. Because if you're at the top of that curve, you need to be pushed down a bit of a peg or two because you're not fucking about to find out enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now I'm at the very, very bottom of that curve again because I'm doing different things around cadavers and understanding the surface layers of muscle tissue and how the ligaments and tendons are all connected. I'm following some of the work that I got sent by an amazing dude and a human being called Julian Baker, who runs like a functional anatomy online webinar course series thing. He gave me his website, so much content in there, which is unbelievable around cadavers and connective tissue and how it all works and it's interlinked and the interstitial system. Mate, I'm looking at this going, looking at cell membranes and the nuances of what's happening in the mitochondrial portion of the muscle. It's like, oh my fucking God. Why? Because you get to that stage, don't you, where you want to fuck around a little bit and you want to find
Yeah.
out a little bit more. Is it going to
Yeah.
help me get a result with a client? Maybe not. But is it going to help me if I'm having conversations with other coaches around educating or getting my viewpoint on something, creating a space. Is it going to help me with networking with other individuals and like-minded educators? Yeah, I'm going to go and do that because you get the opportunity to learn and evolve from them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything on there. I know, obviously, usually I would ask the take home points, but words of wisdom. But I think in terms of what we've spoken about there, especially from a coach's point of view, like what we said at the start about the Catalyst project, about okay, how can we? You've said mentioned there about the team that you've got around you as well, because I think sometimes, coaches do just take everything on themselves, whereas for everything, having that community and learning pushes everything forward. And from the last time that we spoke, but also today as well, you use that same phrase of it's that own individual avatar that's in front of you, and everyone. Yes, people may have similar movement patterns. The same cues might come up when it's coming up, or the same issues might go, oh, well, I struggle with this, I struggle with that, I struggle with this movement, I can't do this. But everyone's different. How everyone's going to respond to that feedback that you give is going to be completely different. And yeah, there's a lot of coaches, I'm sure yourself as well, who are experts in one particular field, but for the majority of coaches, you're going to be working with people from different walks of life,
Mate,
and it's
without
yeah,
question. Like,
yeah,
if you're a coach, you need to become an expert generalist. And that's the most important thing. Like, and when I say the expert generalist, that means understand all of the general problems that people face. What the fuck are they? Become an expert in understanding that. You talk about that person that you referred on. That's cool. That's great. But equally, if you know that there might be and remember, there's a very, very definitive fine line between mental health disorder, mental health issues, and maybe just a little bit of being supportive, right? You know, the best thing for mental health for most people, probably talking to your best mate. And if you become that person in somebody's relationship, you don't need to be a rent a friend here in a coaching environment. I'm not saying that, but if you become that person and you can first line of defense, have a conversation with somebody, and the expert generalist in you is just offering a little bit of advice around, mate, well, look, why don't we get together this weekend? Unplug from training, unplug from life. Just go and talk and just let them air it out and then make the assessment of where to go moving forward. And that's
yeah,
exactly what you need to do. Become an expert generalist in understanding calories and manipulating calories in different ways throughout the week to get the result that you want to get. You know, if you want to become an expert generalist in training and working away around the gym, become an expert generalist in logistically putting a program together that actually works for the client rather than thinking, let's just program this way, but then actually take out of consideration that there's two floors in that gym and they've got to go up and down like a fucking yo-yo because you've done that. Become an expert generalist in knowing who the person is. Like, even with communication, I've taken courses that have improved my ability to be more literate. I've had courses from people that were in drama that taught me more about using my vocal range and my visual ability to create something that buys people into me and the coaching collective. Like, so the term expert generalist is a great, it's the new phrase of jack of all trades. You can be a jack of all trades if you want. Become a fucking expert generalist if you're a coach and understand all the general problems that your clients face, answer all those issues as best as you possibly can, and be the best that you can at doing it.
yeah. I think it's kind of full circle from what we spoke at the start. You mentioned that the pillars at the start. Everyone wants to be part of a community that goes from speaking to people. It goes from the nutrition side of things. It goes from the mindset side of things. And it is getting from an athlete or a client point of view, looking at these things to be like, oh well, actually, these are going to be the tools that's going to allow me to get there. Dean, really, really appreciated you taking the time, jumping on again today. I really enjoyed the first time that we spoke. Enjoyed this equally as much. I think there was lots of great content and information in there. If anyone missed the last episode or have just tuned into this one, where can people find you?
So you obviously the strength coach podcast, which is pretty epic. Like what you want, like 300 episodes nearly now, aren't you? Something like that. You're getting up there anyway.
Closing in,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah.
coming close, right? I've got some coaches if you want to make it to the 300 that you can put in touch. But yeah, for sure. I think like go and listen to the first chat. We had a great conversation the first time. I always value conversation. But yeah, if people want to, my DM, and I don't use this word flippantly, my DMs are literally always open, like to a point where I've given my WhatsApp number to people almost on the daily, and we have conversations through there. But if you want to chat, chew the fat, if you want to talk about ideologies and principles, and you want to get involved in some of our community conversations, you're welcome to come and join. Like you really are. It's an open book. Like just drop me a message on Instagram. I'm at Coach Dean Hammond, but we've also got our website if you want to learn a bit more about us, thecatalyst.project.co.uk. You'll see a breakdown of all like what our team's about, who we are. Or equally, drop me an email like Coach Dean at thecatalyst.project.co.uk. You want to chew the fat a little bit or get together and connect. Perfect. And I travel up and down the country. I'm always out and about doing things. If somebody's local and they want to throw down and they want to do some training or they want to get hench or I don't know, want to go for a run, hit me up. Like I'm in. Like I'd love to. I'll put things on my story like, oh, I'm in Birmingham this weekend. Anyone want to train? Let's do it. Like I'm all about that. So it's good to know, man. That's where I'm at.
Awesome. Yeah, for everyone listening, if you haven't checked out the stuff that Dean puts out there, 100% have a look at that because yeah, it's awesome. Thanks a lot, Dean, for taking the time to jump on, and I will catch up with you all next week.